Hey fam, what's going on? It's Kyle Henderson of Bama Insider along with Andrew Bone. Kadyn Proctor has flipped from Iowa to Alabama. Here with Andrew Bone to break it all down. 6'6", 330-pound offensive tackle. Bone, happy early signing day. It's Tuesday. Things are getting going for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Early signing period eve. Everybody likes to open up one of those presents on Christmas Eve. So I guess Alabama's getting one on early signing period eve here with Kadyn Proctor, the five-star offensive tackle. We kind of knew that this was about to happen, but we were kind of expecting it to happen on Wednesday. I think words started leaking out from the Iowa side of things that he was not going to sign with the Hawkeyes on Wednesday, and all the signs were pointing to the Crimson Tide after his 3 days in Tuscaloosa this past weekend. So huge recruiting win here for Alabama. This is also a guy who's going to be enrolling early. So getting him on campus right away to go along with Alabama's other offensive line commitments. I mean, you already have three guys who are on campus: Rockwez McElderry, Wilkin Formby, Miles McVay, Ola Salinan. He'll be there on January the 8th. Kadyn Proctor now coming in January. So Alabama, all five of Alabama's offensive linemen will be there for early enrollment. This is a huge win for Alabama because this was a guy that they had targeted very early in the recruiting process. I remember right before his junior season, he had come to Tuscaloosa for summer camp. There was two guys that during that summer camp, and I'm sure there was a lot of other top recruits, but I remember there was 1 week where Alabama had Kadyn Proctor and Richard Young on campus, and I just kept hearing a lot of buzz about these two guys. And Alabama really wanted them; that they were two guys that were going to be top priority targets throughout their entire recruitment. Now Alabama got both of them. We saw Richard Young tweeting about Kadyn already today, being excited about him jumping on board. But man, what a recruiting job by Alabama offensive line coach Eric Wolford, and also Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach was the area recruiter for Kadyn Proctor, so got to give a lot of love to those guys. But this is an offensive line class that is extremely impressive, extremely big. I mean, all these guys are 6'6" plus, 315 pounds plus. I mean, there's a lot of beef on this offensive front for the Crimson Tide. So, they're excited today. We were expecting this, but we were expecting it tomorrow morning rather than today. So this was a big surprise for Alabama today and getting Kadyn Proctor on board. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of guys in this class who have that ability to come in and contribute right away, that are going to have a great chance to play early in their career. There's some junior college guys that are coming in that are always going to be counted on and expected to contribute. But this freshman class is going to be extremely impressive, with a lot of guys already on campus. Some guys that are going to be enrolling and participating in bowl practice starting tomorrow, including Caleb Downs, Justice Haynes. I always say any of these guys who enroll early are going to have an opportunity to play. Offensive line, a little bit more challenging because you got to get these guys in. You got to develop them. Got to get them a lot stronger. Kadyn Proctor is a guy that is physically ready to compete, in my opinion, at the college level. I think there's a good chance that he's going to see the field early next season. Which position is that going to be? We'll have to kind of wait and find out. I definitely see him, probably, that right, maybe left tackle. It's going to be interesting, kind of see where they end up putting him. But I certainly think that he's got a chance to contribute very early. And there's been some great offensive linemen that have come to Alabama throughout the last several years, and certainly some guys that we felt coming in would have a great chance to start right away, or at least contribute, see the field early. They might be, one of the top 7 offensive linemen on the team. They may not start, but they might get some valuable playing time, kind of like what we saw with Tyler Booker this year, or J.C. Latham last year. J.C. Latham, Tyler Booker, Cam Robinson, Evan Neal, Andre Smith. These were all players that came into Alabama that we were kind of expecting would have a good chance to play as true freshmen and potentially be starters by their sophomore year. A lot of those guys started as freshmen. Kadyn Proctor is somebody that we feel like has that ability to make a big contribution as a true freshman at Alabama. This is a huge win for the Crimson Tide today, especially after We talked about Raymond Polito decommitted from Alabama a few days ago, which, to be honest with you, he had decommitted probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. People
Okay.
just didn't know that. He had kept things really quiet, didn't want anybody to know that. Had told Alabama. I think it was prior to the Iron Bowl. He had informed Alabama, and then took an official visit to Arizona maybe 2 weekends ago, ends up committing to Arizona. So a lot of people saw that as a flip to Arizona. It was more of a, he decommitted from Alabama, wanted to stay closer to home, kept things extremely quiet, and then a couple weeks later took an official to Arizona, commits to Arizona. But I'll tell you what, Alabama is extremely excited today about Kadyn Proctor. I mean, this is one that they've worked on for a long time. He committed to Iowa back in June over the Crimson Tide, and even right before he committed to Iowa, there were some strong feelings that he was going to go to Alabama. Alabama felt like it was in a great position with him. His family loved Tuscaloosa, and I think when he ended up taking that last weekend visit to Iowa in late June, there was just a lot of pressure there. Grew up an Iowa fan. They're number one recruit in the state of Iowa. Some friends on the team. I think there was a lot of pressure to jump on board there, so that's what he did. But Alabama at the same time told him, we're going to recruit you all the way until signing day. If you tell us to stop recruiting you, we'll stop recruiting you. He never told him that. He said, "I keep recruiting me. I'm going to potentially come back for a visit at some point this season." There was some talk that he was going to come back for the Iron Bowl. He ended up having his tonsils removed that week, which people just automatically assume, well, he didn't make it to the Iron Bowl. There's no chance he's going to end up flipping. We couldn't really say anything because we knew that he was more than likely going to visit at some point in December. We had to kind of keep it quiet until the day of. But yeah, I mean, getting him back on campus was obviously huge. There was some talk that Oregon had a chance with him, but we knew once he stepped foot in Tuscaloosa, it was going to be really hard for him to turn down Alabama for a second time. And, like I said earlier, Eric Wolford, Freddie Roach did a really good job. Nick Saban, one of the very first in-home visits for Coach Saban in the December recruiting cycle was to go see Kadyn Proctor. And a lot of times, we see, coaches go, they try to make that last in-home visit. We saw that with James Smith and Quay Rousseau, or, potentially in that final week, they went and saw Caleb Downs, Justice Haynes, the final week before signing day. Kadyn Proctor was the very first guy they went to see, and I guess maybe it just worked out that way. But I think once that in-home visit happened with Coach Saban, the ball really started to move in Alabama's direction. Staff went back and saw him 2 other times. Then he came back on Friday, spent the entire weekend in Tuscaloosa, and Alabama ends up winning, one of the biggest offensive line targets, one of their biggest overall targets in this recruiting class. So huge win heading into the early signing period for the Crimson Tide.
Bone, have we verified if he's 6'8", 340, or if he's 6'6"? I mean, either way, he's a monster, clearly. But I mean,
he's big. I probably need to get an accurate height and weight. I know he's listed there at 6. So what is that? 6'6", 330?
It says 6'6", 330, but I mean, I also saw 6'8".
I'm pretty sure he's bigger than 6'6", and I'm pretty sure he's bigger than 330. So he might be closer to 6'7", maybe 345 pounds, something like that. But I mean, he, from a physical standpoint, he is extremely impressive. He doesn't look fat, doesn't look like he's carrying a bunch of baby fat or anything like that on him. I mean, he's physically well developed, and certainly somebody that, once he gets into that strength and conditioning program at Alabama, and he starts training, and he starts working with, Eric Wolford and that strength staff, and gets with the nutrition staff at Alabama. He's going to get in really good shape, and also have a chance to contribute very early at Alabama.
Bone, so we have signing day on Wednesday. And again, if you're just joining us, hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Kadyn Proctor has flipped from Iowa to Alabama. Here with Andrew Bone, Bama Insider. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Be sure and check out the promo offers at the bottom of the screen for Bama Insider. But when we look at this class overall, clearly there's a lot of big-time names. It's a phenomenal class that Coach Saban has put together. As you highlighted, Eric Wolford doing a great job along with Freddie Roach. Any other surprises? What can we anticipate? What are we watching on signing day, which is Wednesday, December 21st? Give us kind of the rundown, what we're waiting for, the overall class, where you feel that this team is going to fall in the team rankings. And then, of course, Nick Saban will speak to the media at 4 p.m. We will carry that press conference right here on Bama Insider. So, Bone, kind of give us what we're watching going into early signing day on the 21st.
Well, I'm glad I dropped my final predictions about 10 minutes prior to Kadyn Proctor news being released. But yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to be watching a lot of announcements on Wednesday. We were going to watch Kadyn Proctor early Wednesday morning, but now that he's on board, the one commitment that we're going to be watching really closely tomorrow morning is going to be Tony Mitchell. Alabama commitment right now, but we know that other schools are still heavily involved, including Auburn and Texas A&M. Took an official visit to Texas A&M this past weekend. Auburn, in my opinion, is the bigger threat. I think they've been in the race for a long time, and I think it could go either way. So he's going to be announcing at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and we're going to be watching, see what Tony does pretty closely over the next, I guess, however long it's going to be. I don't even know what time it is because it's been a crazy few days. But we're going to be watching Tony Mitchell. We're also going to be watching Quay Rousseau, James Smith, the top 2 recruits in the state of Alabama. They will be announcing a commitment at 1 p.m. on ESPNU from their high school. We've got our final predictions on James Smith and Quay Rousseau on BamaInsider.com right now. So I suggest everyone go check out the predictions on Quay Rousseau and James Smith. Damari Brown, 4-star cornerback out of Miami, or American Heritage High School in Plantation, Florida. He is going to be announcing around 2:15 tomorrow, Alabama, Miami. And I think those are really the 2 schools that are fighting hard for him. Got a couple announcements that are going to happen on Thursday. Desmond Ricks, Jordan Hall. Any other announcements that are tomorrow? I'm trying to think. Luke Haas, tight end, Arkansas tight end commitment. As of right now, I think he's going to end up sticking with Arkansas. But we shed a little bit of light on kind of what's going on his recruitment on Bama Insider. Those are kind of the main ones. I think with Kadyn Proctor jumping on board. Now you're waiting to see what's going to happen officially with Quay Rousseau, James Smith, some of these other defensive backs. Tony Mitchell, I think that's probably the only guy in Alabama's recruiting class right now that we're watching. Everybody else is pretty solid. Caleb Downs is solid. Justice Haynes is solid. Not really worried about any other guys potentially flipping. So we're watching Tony Mitchell, Quay Rousseau, James Smith, and then the guys who are going to be announcing commitments on Thursday. So it's going to be a big week for Alabama. Regardless, they might miss on a couple, but they're going to get some big ones, and this is going to be the number 1 recruiting class in the country yet again.
So Vaughn, you're telling me Coach Saban still has it? The dynasty keeps rolling on. The dynasty. I thought the dynasty was dead.
We've heard that for a long time. We heard that when Ole Miss beat Alabama 2 years in a row, that they were never going to catch up to all these offenses and all this kind of crap. So Alabama lost 2 games this year. Was it the year that Alabama fans had expected, or Alabama coaches or players expected? No. The expectation is always play in a national championship or make it to the college football playoff. Didn't work out this year. They're fixing some things. They're going to improve in a lot of areas, but the biggest improvements that you can always make are bringing in top recruits and guys that are really going to buy into your system and guys that have a chance to really make big contributions. And you look, at the overall recruiting class, whether that's on the offense side of the ball, defense side of the ball, even special teams. Alabama has a kicker in Connor Talty in their class. So I feel like they really hit on each key area. And, the one area that I feel like there's probably 2 areas that I'm like, maybe they could have improved a little bit more. That's cornerback, whereas the only corner currently in Alabama's class is Jahil Hurley. Mm-hmm. Can they potentially sign someone this week? Probably an outside chance. But if they didn't miss on these 2 guys, Damari Brown and Desmond Ricks, I think they'll look into the transfer portal because it's always an option now. You can go into the transfer portal and recruit guys. So it's not necessarily doom and gloom if you miss on somebody, because you can start recruiting into the portal and look a little bit closer in there for somebody who might can come in and make a big contribution. Inside linebacker. Alabama has 1 inside linebacker commitment, and Justin Jefferson is a number 1 junior college defensive player coming in. But are they going to be able to add some more? Quay Rousseau, who in my opinion, can play inside or outside, so that would be a big addition to the inside linebacker class. They missed on Arian Carter last week, who committed to Tennessee, but they still got a chance, in my opinion, with Centarian Perkins. Perkins came out and I've told this in our other show. Centarian Perkins came out and said that he's 1,000% or 10,000% committed to Ole Miss. Well, if he's 1,000, 10,000% committed to Ole Miss, he should go ahead and sign with Ole Miss tomorrow. So we're, watching to see if he's going to sign with Ole Miss. If he doesn't sign with Ole Miss tomorrow, then Alabama's going to have a chance. We've heard some things that make us believe that he might not sign tomorrow. He might wait until February to sign. And if that happens, then Alabama's going to have a very realistic chance to potentially flip him still from Ole Miss. But if he does decide to go with it, go through with it, sign tomorrow, it will be for Ole Miss.
Bone, before we let you go, I have a couple of things. I wanted to get your take on Tommy Brockmeyer and JoJo Earl transferring to TCU and kind of some of these transfers out for Alabama. I'm a couple to Oregon, a couple to TCU, a couple to Kentucky, one to Miami. Your take on some of these guys transferring out and kind of this transfer process that now is a part of college football.
It's tough. I mean, anytime you look and see some guys that are entering the transfer portal, or they enter the transfer portal, then commit elsewhere. You're like, you know what? I wish them luck. I hope they can figure it out, and I hope they can have a lot of success at their new school. There's some situations where it worked out best for both sides. There's some situations where Alabama doesn't really care one way or the other. And there's some where they probably did care. They probably tried to recruit a couple of those guys to stick. But I think with the way that
who's the biggest loss, would you say, out of these guys right here? If you had to say, I'll give you mine. You give me yours.
Yeah, I would probably go Aaron Anderson, because I felt like he is an electric football player. Makes a lot of big plays. I was a little surprised just because he did suffer an injury early on. Didn't really get a lot of reps this football season. Maybe that was something that contributed to him leaving. But that was probably the biggest one. Everybody else wasn't really surprised. Even though I know that there are some guys on this list that were probably big surprises for a lot of people. There weren't really any major surprises in my opinion. But Aaron Anderson probably the biggest one there. Just because he's young, he had a chance to, go through the spring and potentially earn a starting job because, there is, going to be some open competition at the receiver position. But once again, Alabama has recruited really well. There's some really talented freshmen on Alabama's team. And, people can say what they want. There were drop passes. There wasn't anybody who just broke away. Keep in mind, a lot of those guys are freshmen. They're going to develop. They're going to get a lot better over the course. We were depending so much on freshmen to, be these, game changers at the position right off the bat. And I think that's going to come. I think they're going to be fine. And then you bring in this wide receiver class that they have right now. Malik Benson, top JUCO player in the country. Jalen Hill, top 100 wide receiver. Jarian Hamilton, Cole Adams. You got a great receiver core of young guys that I feel like are going to be big contributors here in the future. Malik Benson's not young. He's going to come in as a JUCO guy, eager and ready to start right away. But yeah, I mean, I think the wide receiver room is going to be loaded next football season, and they're going to have a lot of talent in that room to try to get the ball to.
Bone, I miss our videos, man. I just the chemistry, man. We need to come and just talk Bama football because I could talk about the wide receiver room. I mean, I truly felt that there was no guy this year that could really blow the top off. I mean, I felt at times like Isaiah Bond could have been that guy, but he's a young guy, and I think you're right. Like you look at a player like Aaron Anderson and what he brings or what he could have brought. I think that is certainly a big loss. Bone. So we have signing day on Wednesday. Everybody stay tuned to our coverage. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, of course. Coverage back at Bama Insider. Go check out the great work Joseph Hastings, Jimmy Stein, Clint Lamb, Andrew Bone. Of course, stay locked onto our YouTube channel right here at Bama Insider. Bone is going to come back on Thursday, probably Friday, as well, and kind of go over some superlatives of the class, biggest takeaways from the class, give some final assessments as Alabama puts together another phenomenal class under Coach Nick Saban. So be sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys. I think we have 85,000 subscribers right here on YouTube. So we sincerely appreciate you guys being a part of us and a part of On 3 right here on Bama Insider. He's Andrew Bone. I'm Kyle Henderson. Alabama has added Kadyn Proctor. Massive pickup. Happy early signing day. And we'll catch him soon, right, Bone? Right back at Bama. And if you want to talk to Bone all the time, just go to the message board at Bama Insider, right, Bone?
That's right. I'm on there all day, all night long, every single day. So come over there. If you got a question, go on there. We've got final predictions on Bama Insider, Insider Nuggets. Plus, we'll have stuff throughout the throughout the evening on BamaInsider.com. Plus, obviously, all the coverage tomorrow throughout the day. So, if you're wanting to know exactly what's going on, go to BamaInsider.com. Go to the Talk of Champions message board. That's where all the good scoop is. So check us out. I think it's a $10 subscription fee all the way up until August 31st of next year. So it's hard to beat.
Sounds like a good Christmas present too, right? I mean, it's just like,
if I wasn't if I wasn't already a subscriber, I would be really excited about that gift for Christmas. So, any Alabama fans in your life.
All right, fam. Well, he's Andrew Bone. Stay with us, Bone, before we exit. Kadyn Proctor has committed. He will sign tomorrow. Big signing day for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, and we will catch up with you soon right here on BamaInsider.com.